Let's check out this this one. Thank you for the $4.99, and I appreciate that greatly. Let's go Carrick ACG.
Hogwarts Legacy might be one of the most aptly named games in years. After 50+ hours, it felt as if the entire game was a making of the history for the.
I always feel like he's watching, or he's here. I can turn off chat so you guys can actually like see the screen. I always feel like Carrick is on like 1.5 or 2x speed whenever I click on his videos, because he starts talking very quickly, and I struggle to keep up because I'm apparently an 80-year-old woman and I'm hard of hearing. Okay, let's just jump into it. I will say immediately, I think his, make sure we're at 4K. I think his footage is artificially sharpened because it looks really weird to me. Anyway, I'll shut up.
The movies and the books later on, where you feel like at times things that you're doing in the game might have slightly created the worlds that you get to experience through the Harry Potter movies. How I knew that Legacy was working is when, within the first couple hours, I actually forgot about Harry Potter themselves. It was astonishing how quickly the game transported me to Hogwarts, my own story, the familiarity and all but the solidly built on story of the characters prior, going away and leaving me with this new feeling against new enemies and new places to explore. A mysterious sign in ancient magic in the tried and true Harry Potter world, but years prior, Avalanche and WB have tried to move the open world forward. Let's see if they did. Thanks to WB for the review code. As you know, that means I buy a copy and give it away to one of the patrons. For every GTA, for every Red Dead, there's a Saints Row or a Gotham Knights, open world games that feel lean in their presentation, lacking in their depth, and replicating their IP as shallowly as the ray trace reflections that they crow about in their previews. Hogwarts Legacy says, let's throw all of that away and deep dive into the world. My brand is me, my sponsor's me. Subscribe if you like the video.
Seriously, go sub to ACG. Just look up ACG in the search bar. I'll wait. He is a phenomenal reviewer, and he does great stuff. Everybody in chat will back that up. ACG is tremendous. If you're not subbed to him, you really should be. And, you know, he keeps a very level head. And one thing I do appreciate about him is that he also talks about the more technical aspects of stuff. Whereas a lot of other reviewers, it'll be like a single sentence. Like, I did have some pop-in my playthrough, but it wasn't that bad. Like, he'll actually show it. And I appreciate that. Let's see.
This game rips right out of the gate. One part I was worried about is if this would get lost in its own narrative and need to exposition dump. Hogwarts is thick with lore, and it does spend some time reminding people that they're playing in an established game world. However, it doesn't treat the gamer like they have no clue how to read and couldn't figure out what game they just purchased.
Real quick, I want to see, did he say what he's playing this on? No. Did he already mention that? Coverage includes that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll say it. I don't think he mentioned what he's playing on. I just want to know, like, am I looking at high-end PC footage? Am I looking at PS5 footage? I haven't seen the button prompts yet. I wasn't looking, so.
It handles the intro deftly, injecting mystery almost instantly and then setting you out as a new fifth year into an opening that is one of the best looking open world locations that has been offered. That starting has a sense of unashamed excitement and exploration. It's profound throughout. Gone here are the old days where you enter a game with a well-known IP and see a few callouts in barren rooms, each reminding you forcibly that the developer and the gamer have an agreement as to what needs to be shown. Even when you're through that initial place, taking classes at first isn't just showing up at the room. It's discussion with others, with the teachers, with looking around, finding a couple secrets, then perhaps a quest or two to get items for the current class, then returning and taking part in the class proper. This makes the entire process way more fleshed out, and a lot of the expectations start to fall to the wayside and being replaced by surprise. It also introduces you to new characters from each class, the teachers, and organically moves you through Hogwarts, even if it's only briefly here to grab some items, making it feel like your only job outside of the class isn't just to run around and map the location, because you know a thing or two about the castle and its locations, and that solidifies those classes together with Hogwarts itself instead of transporting you from place to place to place. Alongside the normal story as a fifth year new to Hogwarts and meeting new characters, after you choose which house to be in Hogwarts, the game proper starts. It also has you consistently exploring outside the castle in larger story plots and quests that keep you consistently moving through the different locations across and back to Hogwarts and then back into the land. Everything feels like one large place instead of two separate locations. And exploring here is done on foot at first, and then later on brooms and other different items. Finding hamlets with new quests, some quickly done like a...
On other items? You can ride books, confirmed.
Collection or two, and others longer that may promise of further parts for quests at a later time. Quest for merchants for a variety of questionable and questioning characters at any one time, and consistently exploring between the two locations. And that brings us to combat. So at first you're outfitted with just a basic attack spell, a defensive spell, the ability to hold the button to parry, as well as roll out of the way of attacks. Mixing and matching all of these moves is the way to take out the first enemies, each one teaching you a bit more about the combat mechanics. You can also duel and join dueling rings to learn more about playing not only against single opponents, but groups of opponents. And that is important. Learning that you can't always just hold, block, and parry, as enemies can hit you during that switch between the two. Learning to identify what skill is needed to cut through an enemy's shield and then levitate them and push them off a cliff. Quite quickly, the game introduces you to combos, mixing of main spells and attack spells to keep enemies in the air being juggled. But of course, that won't always work.
I will say this seems like a game where we're going to see some like TikToks of people that have played this game for 6,000 hours and are just gods among men with this combat system. Like, I've seen some clips of Forspoken that do look pretty cool. When people get that combat system down, you can do some cool stuff. It's too bad the rest of the game is dog water, but setting that aside, I think this is going to be a game like that where the combat initially appears pretty simplistic, but you can do a lot once you get to know it.
The first time you tried to levitate a larger creature and they shrug.
The white outline bugs the hell out of you. That's something, if you remember, the first time we saw the actual gameplay of this, my immediate question, and I actually tried to get the attention of Chandler Wood, the community manager, and he wouldn't tell me, but I wanted to know if you could turn off that white outline or decrease the intensity of it or something, because it's also, I mean, it's on everything. And I think it's just how the game tells you where like your interaction is going to take place. So like I get it, but it is a bit aggressive.
Shrug it off means you have to change all the tactics, because the entire combat stream isn't going to work the way you expect. I mean, a combo has to start with one, and if you can't hit one, you got to rethink things. Spells are applied on the digital pad, 4 per group, with traits that you can unlock later, letting you get a total of 16 mappable spells.
Hold on, he just said digital pad. Who the hell calls it a digital pad? It's a D-pad. I get that it's like that's what it stands, but no, it doesn't even stand for. It's a directional pad. It's not even a digital pad. What the hell is a digital pad? Is that the touch screen thing? Is that this? Is that what he means? So did he say like spells are mapped to that? What did he say? What the hell is a digital pad?
4 per group with traits. You got to rethink things. Spells are applied on the digital pad, 4 per group, with traits that...
Spells are applied on the digital pad, 4 per group. So that can't be this, because he's talking about like this and the D-pad. I'm so confused. Favorites. Okay, everybody unsubscribe. Yeah, no. I just don't understand. Mr. Mo, if I can ride a carpet, I shall be screaming, I can show you the world. Good, you better. Thank you for the $4.99. He's got to mean D-pad. I think so. I think it's just like, I just had the brain fart where it was like, yeah, D-pad stands for digital pad. I was like, wait, no, it's directional. So I think it's just a slip of the tongue. But yeah, that broke my brain for a second trying to decipher this.
You can unlock later, letting you get a total of 16 mappable spells across the digital pad and the face buttons.
Oh, he said it again. Okay, so it's okay.
And this is highly important because setting them up right can be the difference.
I love you, Jeremy. I love you.
You want the face buttons beside one another that facilitate a combo. But then if you face another group of characters where that combo isn't always successful, you may want to move them around. It's almost like wizards in a D&D game, choosing what spells to learn at night in the old days. Here it's the momentary thing, but it actually engages you and fosters a huge amount of experimentation. And if you don't want to, you don't necessarily have to. You can still do a lot of those combos anyway. But the ability to jump in there and change them so easily makes it feel like something that really would occur with a character who's going out and facing enemies that are shrugging off some of his attacks. And that's needed here because the game is not easy. Combat can get you in deep trouble if you are not taking care. Fighting turned out to be much better than any of the videos showed. First, on the controllers, the vibrations are telling. The information you get and informing you of what's occurring and offering excellent feedback is highly important. The combos, the way the combat works, it's a mixture of guards and parries and dodge rolls with all the spells, and then pulling down ancient magic and throwing it back into the enemy, evaporating them, require you to really have a good sense of timing and location in this game. Grabbing something to throw it into an enemy can also be the difference between life and death.
Oh, he's referring to the outline. Yeah, so like it's why I'm all the more confused. Like, what he's got is the D-pad is here. You can select right to go to like a grid of spells, and then you can assign those spells to one of these slots that you can select by holding down the right trigger and then selecting, square, triangle, circle, X. And so I thought maybe he's calling this the digital pad, which I guess could be the case. So you select with the D-pad, the digital pad, to assign it to your wheel. I don't know. I'm confused. But I mean, we kind of get what he's saying. Anyway. Thank you for the $1.99
at any one time,
unsubscribe.
Enemies can do pretty much the same to you, and they do. Turn the difficulty up and enemies move more. They attack with speed, and they consistently switch it up. And even the students in the dueling section on the hardest difficulty shows that a major worry a lot of us had with Hogwarts is pretty much, at least at this time, put to bed. It's not perfect, but it is far more original than I expected it to be. Also, these can be augmented by traits. Now, traits are augments to your spellcasting you unlock later on in the game.
Con, gotta know how to handle your balls. Oh God, I love Carrot so much. He puts little shit like this in his reviews. If you're not watching it and if you're just listening, you won't see this stuff, but it's just funny, dude. He's just a funny person. Like, he's just a funny dude.
Augmenting basic abilities, stealth moves, dark arts themselves, and more. You can pick and choose. Like, do you want your fire spell to also send out a ring of fire? Do you really want to pull all your enemies towards you instead of just one of the enemies? Or instead, maybe you spend some points that you can sprint while invisible, augmenting stealth so that you can rain down fire on enemies and build up your special meter to cast incredible, powerful magics that only you have. The idea is you won't be able to unlock them all, and I wasn't able to. But I did find that little bit of variation, as well as traits that are on the items that you get for clothing, ended up being the juice for the combat.
I know some people might take that as a negative. I actually take that as a positive. Like, the fact that you can't unlock everything in a single playthrough. To me, that tells me that there's enough content here that players can actually have a different experience. Like, when a skill tree just ends up being completely, filled out by everybody by the end of the game. It's like, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Like, 95% of people will have basically the same set of skills at the end of that game, with a couple of exceptions, but across the board, you're probably going to have most of the abilities unlocked. And I view that as like kind of frustrating if you're going to call it an RPG. I don't care if you're making it more linear, but if it's going to be an RPG, like, you have to have different roles. And if everybody ends up in the same role of just master superhero wizard at the end of the game, it doesn't really feel like you're playing a role. It just feels like you're going along a different track to the same destination, So I think it's fine.
Comparison, for instance, to games like Forspoken with a number of spells, and no matter how you play it, it always felt a little bit cumbersome switching between those. Hogwarts feels much less so. How many games become that drudgery, though, of working through the ever-growing feeling of stratification of ideas that felt fresh 2 hours in, that feel almost desiccated and pulled out thin 12 hours in due to repetition? Legacy is always showing you something new, or suggesting a new way to go about something, offering a new enemy type that's going to require you to think out of the box, or a new ability for you to have. And just far out of the box is going to depend on the level you are and the difficulty that you've chosen to take the game on. It always feels good, even if the main character's ability to jump over something seems a little bit suspect, like he himself doesn't know just how good his knees are. Dodging under a heavy attack, lighting a wolf on fire, then twisting around, blocking and stupefying a goblin feels incredible. And while the combat...
I'll say, look how dense the grass is. I think that this is more an artifact of the recording, like, it's really sharpened, so ignore that, but the grass and foliage density for being a PS5 copy, and it looks to be running on performance mode, that's pretty impressive. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Is usually the end experience. The quests get you to move around the game world. Now, many open world locations have their own gameplay conceits and titles. They become these concrete boots that sort of sink them into tedium. The world here doesn't advertise the intent of the gameplay elements for the most part as you're traveling around. Instead, they reward you for exploring. You don't always find a location and surmise instantly what will be happening here. Hogwarts isn't all about surprises. It's just that it gives them to you occasionally, and it seems just as happy as you are to see them. It's incredibly rewarding as an experience and much more akin to the building block world that we may see in a Red Dead than the hodgepodge of, let's say, Watch Dogs. It's not just that Legacy...
By the way, did you guys hear that a leaker claimed yesterday that Ubisoft was developing a Watch Dogs Battle Royale? They recently canceled it. It was one of their unannounced canceled projects. I don't know if that's true. I haven't heard anything about that behind the scenes, but I totally believe it, that Ubisoft was working on a Watch Dogs Battle Royale. It's so funny to me. Like, it would be so terrible. The footage looks really over sharpened. Yeah, I think what the impression it gives me is like it was recorded in 720 and then upscaled, but it upscaled so it looked really blurry. To sort of fix it, tried to sharpen it, but it just makes everything look kind of crappy. I don't know. I really don't know. But I can't talk because if you've seen my Last of Us Part 2 critique that's like 5 hours long, most of the footage in that video is extremely, disgustingly oversaturated because I recorded it in HDR, but with the wrong LUT, so it was compressed and looks terrible, so I can't really throw stones.
Legacy respects the years of fiction. It's that it consistently expands it, regardless of the enemies, the lore, or the spells you're getting. It's like opening one of the original books and somehow someone cast Expando Chaptero, and there are more pages there.
Expando Chaptero! In my mind, you have to pronounce it like that. If you don't pronounce it with that voice, it's not going to be magical, you know? Maybe it's a digital pad opposite the analog sticks. Digital pad opposite the... Oh, so you mean the touchpad? That's what I thought, but then I think what he was trying to say, because I've seen the gameplay breakdown, I think what he was trying to say is you use the D-pad to bring up a digital pad or a digital, like, list of spells, and then you apply those to the like, loadout wheel for a quick application. I think that's what he was trying to say, but he just called it a digital pad. I think it's just, you know, we all have brain farts sometimes. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But thank you for the donation. Let's see, and under Sittable, thank you for the $4.99. Playing the game now, just past the intro, and I can say the game is beautiful. Some weird lighting issues with Hera, but otherwise it's fine. If you have it, do you know if they've done, I don't know if you got I would assume you got a physical copy, but if you did that, have they sent out a day one patch yet? It's probably like a 30 gig download on top of the game disc. So if you know anything about that, let me know.
Whipping through the woods on even a cheap secondhand Ron Weasley type broom is breathtaking.
Look, my friend, D-pad does in fact stand for digital or directional. So it can be either. Okay. I like how this is like totally derailed, this whole thing. It gets so stupid, but it's very, very controversial. Like, it doesn't matter at all, to be completely clear. Nobody gives a crap. All we're trying to figure out is what the hell a digital pad is. I thought, like, digital pad probably would be touchpad. D-pad is this, but maybe it's also called a digital pad. Or maybe Xbox calls it a directional pad. PlayStation calls it digital. I don't know. There's probably some crap like that going on. I have no idea.
It's a surreal through the woods on even a cheap secondhand Ron Weasley type broom is breathtaking. It's a surreal spin on speed and exploration that really does its damnedest to make you feel exactly like a young kid would feel exploring a game world like this. But there are some issues. First, customization of your character has its ups and downs. For example, no matter how hard you try, everyone you can create in Legacy looks a bit like everyone else you can create. Like the main character's parents spent their nights at a free love Wicca magic and music festival, and everyone's a bit too related to everybody else.
They all do kind of, I think it's the nose, maybe. It's the nose and the forehead. They don't really change. So, I mean, look at all the foreheads. Like, the foreheads stay the same across all of the different loadouts, and the noses are all kind of the same. I think that's what it is, because I totally agree. Like, they all look vaguely similar.
I'm not lying. I tried, but there's always a fundamental look to your characters that seems very close to anyone else. So multiple playthroughs, there's a bit of uncanny valley there. Luckily, that stops at the clothing options. The game lets you go wild, consistently finding items everywhere in the world. If you don't like a scarf, but you like its traits and bonuses, you can have both. It's a nice mix. And if you want to get more items for your inventory, you can take on some challenges around the game world. You can also sell items to vendors, and you won't lose their graphical design, even if you do end up selling the actual item.
Well, that's badass. That's great. It's one of those things, like, why should you have to lose it? Like, you've collected this thing, but you want the money for the item to buy something else useful. Why not just let you keep the cosmetic side of it? Yeah, that's just a good touch. Quality of life stuff, you know? I love it.
So that customization of self is very high here, but that is actually something that you pick up when you're playing Hogwarts. The sense of self is almost too high. Let me explain. The game handles groups and adventuring in a side-saddle way, with you occasionally picking people to move along with on some of the quests, and much less like a BioWare game, and more like Bully, with just the occasional character that goes with you. It's not that you're solitary all the time, it's just that it never quite gets off the ground when it comes to that group dynamic. What's interesting about Hogwarts Legacies is it's like the mullet of open world games. While nothing within the first hours of the games could really be called business-like, you're at Hogwarts, you're a student, the life there is a little bit dangerous.
That was weird. There's a broom. Look at the broom. It's going to disappear. You ready?
Really be called business-like. You're at Hogwarts, you're a student, the life there.
Luke, you're nitpicking shit. Come on. Am I supposed to not mention that? With that, like, would you want me to sit here and just pretend like I didn't see that and I just sit here and twiddle my thumbs and shut up to try to, like, comfort you? Lay off it. Go dry up. Yes, it popped out. Is it a big deal? No. But when I see that crap, I'm going to tell you. Like, come on.
It's a little bit dangerous at various turns. You're still taking traditional steps of a new student. You're learning, taking classes, talking to teachers, even if some of that is involving you being drugged to dangerous places. But then you go out into the back 40 and it is party time. The large open world parts of Legacy are incredible, and they offer a great contrast to the inner locations within Hogwarts, from finding hidden cemeteries with callouts to various characters and groups and monsters and magics of the Harry Potter histories, to riskier steps, diving into the Forbidden Forest, trying to burn down 100 trees to take out that one last spider that's leaping and digging into the ground, ready to trapdoor you from behind. Then you're back at Hogwarts, raising animals, creating your own potions, taking more advanced lessons, learning the weaknesses of enemies originally thought impossible to defeat, and then trooping out there to do so. How does all this look? Well, Hogwarts looks pretty phenomenal. It's made leaps and bounds ever since the gameplay trailer we saw recently, with pop-in something that occurs here and there, but certainly not as much as I expected. It isn't perfect, but regardless of the graphical setting you choose, more on that later, Hogwarts shows that the best looking games aren't just that they pipe in some ray tracing so a rock looks a bit more rockish, but understands theme and atmosphere.
Thank you. Dear God, it's so infuriating to see that, like, nowadays the new meta is just cranking ray tracing and stuff, and people act like that's just, like, the solution. Wet Donkey, thank you for the $9.99. Love this, James. Thank you. You guys being here makes this fun. Like, if you guys were not here, weren't active, weren't chatting, it wouldn't be fun at all. But the fact that you guys are here, you know, keeps this engaging and fun for me and hopefully for you as well. So thank you. And Jesus Christ, we have 1,700 people in here. Good God Almighty. I'm not going to think about that because it will freak me out and I will start crying. So if you are here, like the stream, and maybe I'll still cry. You never know. The show's just starting, guys. It's the day is early. Maya's, oh, thank you. Thank you, man. Sorry, I'm leaning in because the font's really small on my screen. Your channel helps me pass the time while working. My go-to gaming YouTuber. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for the 6. I mean, that's very generous. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very generous. But yeah, I mean, going back to all of this, I totally agree. Like, it's much more about themes and settings. Like, did you guys see the, I think we watched it on Friday. It was that PlayStation, like, Sony pony hardcore dude who was, like, down the rabbit hole, and he was simping so hard for PlayStation that, like, he couldn't even acknowledge that Hi-Fi Rush looked good. He tried to say it had terrible graphics because it wasn't, like, lifelike and realistic. Like, that mentality is going to get you some games like Forspoken. Like, it's going to get you some bland, crappy stuff. Whereas, like, choosing art style, choosing art direction above all else is really what's going to make the difference. Christopher Voigt. I think it's Voigt. I'm assuming. Thank you for that. Sorry, he said it had fake graphics. Oh, yeah, it was like fake graphics. Yeah, it was something like that. It was really, really funny. It was just really funny. And then, like, at the end of the video, he was like, actually, you know, I'm not even... The point of all of this is that this game just is not meant for Xbox. I mean, if this was on PlayStation, it would do way better. I was like, so do you want it? Is this your way of saying it looks good and you wish you could play it? but you can't let yourself admit that the game looks good on Xbox. It's just so weird. It was so funny. If you haven't seen that, again, Friday stream, it's probably going to go up as a stream clip on this channel, so make sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to see that when it goes up later this week. But dear God, it was so funny. It was like, you are stretching, my friend, to try and excuse this.
And that means flying through the grasping trees of a swamp with fog rolling in. It should feel powerful, mysterious, dangerous, and creepy. And this game's delivery of the atmosphere is exactly that.
Good. Real quick, everybody in chat, surely one of the 1,800, Jesus Christ, of you probably knows this. Again, I'm just not going to think about it because it will break my brain. For those of you who have checked out other reviews so far, has anybody posted a PC review? Has anybody posted a PC review? If you do know of, like, they have, okay, do you know who did it or what outlet talks about it? Because I'd like to see what PC footage looks like as well. I think that'd be great. Pranav, thank you for the 10 pounds. Appreciate you, Luke, and can't wait for your deep dive of this. Hogwarts would not be the same without you. Oh, thank you, my friend. That's very generous. Thank you. And I can't wait to delve into it as well. I'm all of this stuff with like the open world design, with the way they've structured exploration, all of this, I cannot wait to dig into with an Excel spreadsheet and a stopwatch in hand. So you better buckle up. Buckle up. Jay, thank you also for the 100, I think that's rupees. I'm sorry, I'm getting better with the currency symbols, but I'm not perfect. Hey Luke, love your content. A bit off topic, but would love to see you play Choo Choo Charles and hear thoughts. Jay, it's funny you bring that up because that's actually on the schedule for later this month, was for me to play Choo Choo Charles and do like a serious breakdown of it. So it's funny you bring that up. That's funny. But yeah, that's something I have planned on trying. Let's see. Jack Frags has a PC one. Game Riot has a PC review. Okay. So Jack Frags and Game Riot. Okay. Interesting. I mean, I'm glad they're sending out PC codes, because was it Gotham Knights that didn't send out like any PC codes? There was one recent game that didn't send out anything for PC, and it was really weird. And then we got the PC version and it was really broken. So I'm glad we're seeing some reviews. We'll check that out as well.
Starts from the very moment, as I talked about before. The game begins throwing your character into this incredible location that harkens back to Harry's trips to find out just how many Horcrux one bad guy could have. It's a cliffside repository, locking mysteries behind its doors and consistently making you question just how much you probably want in.
One time in high school, I wrote a paper where I tried to use the word repository, and I accidentally wrote suppository. It's a different thing.
Because if a prize kills you, it's not a prize, it's a surprise, and it's a bad one. Luckily, there aren't really any bad surprises in this game. Let's be honest, as gamers, I think a lot of us feel lied to just a bit, just a smidge, a little bit of Vaselinus Obscura cast on a vision of some title that gets a downgrade in its graphics when it's released. I can't say that any of that really happened here.
What an outfit. Have you guys ever worn long johns like that? I went on a hunting trip one time when I was like 15 with my uncle and grandpa, and I got one of those because my mom was like, oh, it's going to keep you really warm when you're out there. Because it was like, it snowed, I kid you not, like 4.5, 5 feet overnight when we were up there hunting. And I remember like clearing and shoveling the campsite out, and then I hit something and I reached down and it was just a moose leg, like from the knee joint down. And I was like, oh my God, this is a leg. Like, it took me a second. I picked it up and it's just a severed leg. And I like freaked out. I found the rest. So I did find all 4 legs. So we were okay. But yeah, these things are super uncomfortable. I don't like them. I have worn them like once in my life. I have worn them. So itchy. Yeah, I just don't like it. Domus PC version has FPS issues, terrible optimization. Interesting. We'll delve into that. What's wrong with long johns? I don't know. Maybe it's the type I was wearing, because I don't remember. I think they were like Walmart long johns, so like they weren't comfy. They were really itchy. It was just wasn't a great fit. I don't know.
Despite some issues here and there, pretty much always delivers or over-delivers. The animations on the characters, the clothing that billows during the more powerful spell casts, to even the way they animate, the incredible detail in most of the main characters. The shimmering of skulls on my cape is scariness +7 that I bought. Luckily, the consoles have a lot of choices for your settings. You have fidelity with ray tracing, balanced performance, and high frame rate performance. Of course, those fidelities are going to try to hit that 30 FPS with 4K. Balanced is going to be a mixture. And then when you get into the performance and high rate performance, you're looking at 60 FPS and 120 mode. Be aware that some of the modes also support variable refresh rate if your TV does. Resolution is adjusted on each of these, with 4K being that aim for fidelity. I think the resolution drop that I was seeing in performance was a bit noticeable. There's also a problem here. While you can change all your settings for motion blur and film grain and vignette and all that, if you want to change between ray tracing mode and not, you do have to reset the entire game. Now, this isn't necessarily a problem with their game, but it does make testing a bit difficult, especially if you're a person who jumps in and out of those to sort of see how they're going to play.
Still better than Callisto Protocol. I don't know if you guys remember, but Callisto Protocol, you had to go back to the main menu to change literally any graphical settings, like beyond brightness and gamma. Like, it was horrible. It was so, and it was worse because the game performed really badly, so you needed to tweak it, but you didn't know what you needed to tweak until you loaded in after like 2 minutes. It was bad. It was really bad.
I would suggest if you do that, you jump in and you really play a good deal of the game, whether you go from fidelity to performance, and especially with that ray tracing mode, to really get an idea of what's being delivered to you, because depending on where you are, the frame rate hit on the ray tracing can be quite noticeable. If you do have VRR, you are going to be a step above the game for everybody else. But here's one big problem the game does have, and it hit me a fair number of times. It has a frustratingly tight FOV. The enemies are tantalizingly mobile, moving side to side, leaping and dodging and surrounding you. It's not hard to feel like your fifth year is just one gigantic one-carrying butt in an ass-kicking contest. In the castle, this can also become disconcertingly close. Feels like you're performing a number of different felonies or offenses with that camera. Inside buildings, it's frequently popping in and out as your character is very tall for that FOV. Casting spells against enemies on a cliff face above you can also feel really wonky.
Does anyone know if you can change that on the PC version? Because normally the reason that's constrained on console is because the wider the FOV, the more it has to render at one time, because it's a wider FOV. So normally on console, they'll lock it or keep it much more narrow. But on PC, it's common for them to give you a slider to open that up, because it's like, yeah, if you can run it. Like, who cares? So I'd be interested if this is something that's also on, if you can tweak this on PC.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see if the PC version has the ability to change that FOV, but in the consoles, it is pretty tight, so be aware of it. Regardless of what frame rate the game runs at, it's the atmosphere that just always works well. Hogwarts is filled with secrets and puzzles and shout-outs,
trying to look up her
mysteries,
robe?
and consistent Hogwarts fiction. It's always giving you something, and you can get lost in the castle. There's a possibility, well, it's probably a certainty, that you're going to be in there and get lost at time, even if you have the location tracking system on. There's secret rooms you can find, instructors' rooms with magical chalkboards slowly marking out the day's lessons with arcane symbols and mathematics that seem almost tantalizing familiar to cause you to sit there and stare at and try to figure out what's being done. And while I don't think Hogwarts is up to the comparison of a Red Dead 2 or GTA 5 in terms of pure world and wildlife and scope, the fact that I'm mentioning it beside them when so many titles in the past wouldn't and shouldn't be mentioned in that comparison, I think proves enough about Hogwarts' quality. Speaking of quality, let's talk about the presentation for voices and sound and music. The voices are excellent. First, yes, the character has the ability to turn the tone up and down on that character during the customization. Please leave it. Trust me, whatever artificial system they are trying to use to change the character's voice makes you sound like a robot talking from the bottom of a well. Even the main character honestly normally has an odd timbre and a bit of a processed sound that can pop up. That's just a warning. That being said, I overall dig it. I dig the explanations. The inflection that the character usually gives is hitting right. There's a couple where that inflection is a bit off, but overall I think the writing is good. And you get full drawn-out conversations with a lot of characters in the game, a huge number of them. Even the side narratives, the bit moments where you hear two characters fighting on the side is almost always interesting or adds something to the game world. However, it's the professors that take the cake here. Each one is nuanced, and while they may not all resonate with the instant concrete memory of, say, a Snape or otherwise, many are really good. Professor Ronan, he's quick to joke, always looking like his brain is inhabiting a body ready to break into dance at any moment. This mannerism that he has is of someone still mystified by magic and finding curiosity in the same activities that the students do, and that nets him a win right away. and most all of them are that good. The game's lip syncing is very good for the most part. There are a couple that are inflicted a bit with thick face. It's the animations that rock, though. I won't spoil it here, but sometimes a bad guy is a bad guy because he just looks like it. His face just couldn't make it through real life because no one would ever think he was happy. You have some of that here where the venom, the hatred, the disdain are so instantly noticeable that the vocals are simply there to add nuance to how much someone hates you, and that really worked well. A little less so was the sound. Now, 3D tracking, it's well done, but it takes a bit of fiddling. The game offers a number of lesser settings like cinema and speakers and headphones, but some of that adjusting may need to be done within your system, the PlayStation, the Xbox, or the PC settings. I found that it was relatively easy to dial in, but you may want to go in there and adjust those settings to see if everything works. The battles in Hogwarts are almost always consistently group affairs with enemies pouncing and pawing and popping into existence and getting punched out of their shoes around you. So having good 3D audio is going to be important. I tested it with the soundbar, home theater, as well as headphones. They all worked fine. I was able to discern enemies behind me as well as around me. I will say that the alert bell that goes off when you use your magic user vision to find important items in the game world is a bit of a mixed affair. Here, understanding the timing is very important. The longer it takes to ring and alert you of something, the farther away that item will be based on distance. That makes sense. However, especially inside of Hogwarts, it can be difficult to identify those items if they're above you or below you, and you can find yourself looking around a bit more than you probably should. That being said, walking along the beach across a treacherous cliff is breathtaking. You can hear individual...
Double breathtaking in this review. He said it twice. That's pretty... Ooh. Ooh. PS5 shits on your 10K PC. I'm down to go head to head. I mean, I'm down. You see this stupid ass thing? See how huge that is? My graphics card's bigger than your entire damn console. Chill out. Thomas, I'm still not interested in the Potter universe, but this game does look good. Can't say I'll buy it, but it looks good. Well, good. I mean, and it's just a matter of like I do think that the lore and the world adds a lot to it. So I don't say that you are. I wouldn't say that you're wrong for that. You know, it's okay to have different tastes. No 32:9 support. I'm canceling. You know what? My buddy Mike, he has like one of those ridiculous like 67:2 monitors, like ridiculously widescreen. And he like, apparently my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, because I would assume you have one. My understanding is you can still play the game. It just puts black bars on the side. And you're still talking about it like it's running at 21:9 instead of 32:9. Like, my understanding is that it should still work. It's just it won't take full advantage of your monitor. It's like, is that big of a deal? I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm talking with LG. We might be working with LG to get a widescreen monitor for the studio. But I don't really know how that will affect how we like film videos and stuff. I think we're gonna have to change the aspect ratios of all of our content if we do that. Like, it's gonna change a lot if we choose to do that. I don't know. I would like to go slightly more cinematic with the aspect ratio, but it's... I don't know. Let me know what you think of a widescreen. LG stock, their new LG 45-inch ultra-wide OLED with like 0.3 millisecond response time. That thing's ridiculous. An OLED monitor. Like, good God almighty. And I jizzed in my pants. Sorry, I just saw the concurrent viewer number jump up 300 people. Hi, everybody. Sorry, right as you joined, I said I jizz in my pants. I was referring to a monitor. I'll shut up now. Let's continue.
Waves smashing into the rocks below and above you, and of course the spells sound awesome.
I'm
and
a
another
professional.
thing that's awesome is the music. This was surprising for me because Hogwarts Legacy has very unique music, though at the first blush it does not appear to. It can appear very close to the music we have in the Harry Potter games and movies. The chimes, the bells, string sections deeply resonating during big plot moments. But the longer I listen to this, the more I realize something else was going on. The soundtrack fulfills the task of feeling like Harry Potter right away, but it's actually somewhat deconstructing a bit of the themes from the original movies. Like, the music and the arrangements are a bit more primal, a bit more basic to reflect the earlier times in the ancient arcane storyline that's the genesis for the game itself. But later on, you'll notice that chord changes dramatically, or that notes...
Did you see the guy in the background? Watch this guy, okay? Watch this guy. Again, Luke, you're being too nitpicky. I just, like, how do you not mention this? I don't know. Maybe he will. Watch this guy walking. He's going to walk into this bush. Just watch.
For the game itself. But later on, you'll notice that chord changes dramatically.
He's, like, glitching out like a mofo. Like, you see? He's just, like, standing there, but he's clipping into the bush and he can't move.
Dramatically, or that notes play choppier, building up something pretty unique. For me, it's a testament to a soundtrack if I'm going to listen to it outside of the game, and I will for Hogwarts Legacy.
Also, the balls of walking around in your long johns like this out around the castle. Props, dude. Props. I mean, if I had 2,000 viewers, I'd jizz in my pants too. Yeah, no, I'm just not thinking about it, Andy, because 2,000 people is ridiculous. So if I think about the fact that there's 2,000 people here, I will start crying. So I'm just going to not think about it and move on.
But was it fun?
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
After 50 hours, it felt as if the entire game was a making of history, where you feel at times that what you did in the game world somehow slightly creates the move.
How do I see this stuff? I don't know. I just see it. Like, I don't call out every little thing, because, like, let's be real. When you're playing the game, you're not going to notice this. You think I'm lying about not noticing or mentioning everything? Well, back here, there was a rock that popped in that I didn't mention because I didn't want to seem like too obtuse of a dick. But watch as he runs up here. Rocks will pop in right here.
Unique. For me, it's a testament
to
around
the corner.
Soundtrack if I'm going to listen to it outside of the game, and I will for Hogwarts.
Pop. You see that? So, like, I don't know why. I see this stuff. I know a lot of other people don't see it. Going back frame by frame. Get it pop back out. There we go. See? I don't know. Like, some people are going to notice it. Some people aren't. Like, when you're playing the game, at that moment, your eyes are probably focused back down here because you're turning the camera. So you're not even going to really see that. When you're watching this footage back, it's way easier to see this kind of thing. Like, let's be perfectly honest. When you're playing the game, you're less likely to see these types of things. When you're watching the footage back, you see it all the time.
Felt as if the entire game was a making of history, where you feel at times that what you did in the game world somehow slightly creates the movies and the books. The game's always giving you something interesting, from fiction to items to performing challenges, side quests, main quests, causing the player to actually work for some of the figuring out of the puzzles, and not just giving you the answers or letting you track it down right there. It rewards exploration at almost every single turn. But the best part of the game is that you get to walk with the exaggerated swagger of a Hogwarts student. Jokes aside, that's what it feels like you are. From classes to ripping across the game world on creatures to figuring out the story proper, it does a very good job of making you feel like you're there. I would have loved to have seen the game have me group up with other characters far more often. I would love to have had more choices and responses to characters and quests, most follow into a good or a bad kind of feeling, because that's sort of what you need to do to finish the quest, at least when it comes to main stories. I also think that the game would have really benefited from a deeper customization system for the characters' faces and looks. And I get it, you can't have kids with beards and mustaches looking like they're taking a polyjuice prolactin inhibitor and testosterone shots, but that's why I think more adjustments to the faces and the looks would have helped to really make me have the ability to create a character that looked unique and not somewhat exactly like they want them to look underneath. Also, why the equipment system is fully fleshed out, and each piece of equipment does change the overall statistic of the character. It never really felt as fleshed out as I would have liked. I would have liked to have seen a few more statistics there, because there really aren't that many. Now, for a lot of people who like light RPGs, this is going to fit perfectly with what they are actually hoping for from a Hogwarts game, and I think that's fine. It was just a little bit of complexity I could have dealt with. But regardless of that lack of surprise, the big surprise was exploration, combat being fun, and the game having a bit more difficulty than I was expecting, especially if you set it up high. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating system. This is well worth getting right away. Fatigue in open world games is an illness everyone gets, like a cough in a smoggy city, and you try to fight it because you like the food there. Hogwarts is more than 50 plus hours, never once making me feel fatigued. It's a testament to how satisfying the activities can be, how surprising the story can be, how mysterious the exploration can feel, consistently surprising you bit by bit, like a fairy tale that you yourself have been writing and telling at the same time around a fire somewhere. It has its issues, but even when it does, they feel pretty fresh. The quests are enjoyable, many of the smaller ones requiring you to do a bit of your own thinking and footwork. which made them feel so much better than I expected, as was most of Hogwarts Legacy. So anyway, that's it for me. If you guys...
Interesting. I mean, that's very positive. Very positive, I think, is the main takeaway from that one. Let's see. It was... What's his name? Jack Frags. I want to see what this looks like on a cranked PC. Okay, I'm going to skip forward out of the intro.
And welcome.
I don't want any spoilers, so I'm going to just go to an open world section. I'm going to mute it, and I'm going to turn off closed captioning so that we just see the graphics, and that's it. I don't want any spoilers, okay? So this is just like that. I can't get rid of subtitles, so don't read the subtitles if you can. But this is 4K cranked PC footage from Jack Frags. Way better than the PS5 performance mode. Already, just the raindrops on the cloak. Way better. Good God Almighty. Yeah, see, this is way better. This is crazy how much better this looks. Like, the PS5 version, I think, is passable. Like, you can absolutely sell that game in 2023 on the PS5 and be fine. But this actually makes it look like a high-quality hardware-pushing game. Oh, look at that. Oh, weird. That was weird. Don't even tell me you guys didn't see that. Watch the driver. There's something clipping into the back of the coach. You see this? It's like the coattails. The coattails are going from in front, clipping into the back of it, and then back front, back front. That's weird. But like, good God Almighty. Yeah, where's the guy that said the PS5 can shit all over my $10,000 PC? Where did that guy go? Like, good God Almighty, this is crazy. But I mean, you'd expect it. You'd hope for $500 that the more expensive PC would outperform it. You'd definitely hope that. But yeah, this is very, very nice. And this is after the compression. What about facial animations and stuff and cutscenes? I will say the bokeh, the depth of field, looks really, really nice and soft. It doesn't have the artifacting around the hair like some games have. The Decima engine had that problem a lot. Every Square Enix game has that problem where the hair gets all freaked out whenever you go into a cinematic like that. Ooh, in here. Let's go to the castle. Again, no spoilers. I'm not going to go to any narrative section. This is all stuff from the previews. But I want to see what it looks like wandering the castle. I mean, it looks pretty good. The cloth physics also are great. Oh, the RE engine. Yeah, RE engine is also bad. I wasn't even looking forward to this game, but these gameplay videos and reviews are making me kind of want it now. I mean, they're just saying, like, at its core, it seems to be a pretty competent open world exploration game. It has a decent narrative, and you know, that I think probably leaves it at like an 8 out of 10 for most people. But the fact that it's a Harry Potter game, for a lot of people, the world of Harry Potter adds an extra point or two. So for a lot of people, this is like the 10 out of 10 game of their dreams, because it's a good game, maybe not amazing, maybe not great, but it's a good game that has the story and the world that they find fascinating and that they're passionate about. So that cranks it even higher in its evaluation, right? Let's see. Yeah, these cinematics look really, really good. That's crazy. Curious how the Switch version will run. I think it'll probably look like The Witcher 3 on Switch. If you haven't played The Witcher 3 on Switch, don't. It's like, I kid you not, It is running at like 360p. You can't really read any text on screen. It's blurry as hell. It's bad. It's like real rough. So I would guess it probably runs similar to that. But this game is also Steam Deck verified, and I want to know how this runs on a Steam Deck as well. Has anybody posted anything Hogwarts Legacy Steam Deck? Maybe IGN mentions it. Yeah, I don't see any of those guys talking about it. Let's go. Let's just see the IGN one. We were gonna do it. Let's see. Maybe they mention the Steam Deck. Can Hogwarts Legacy be better than The Witcher 1? I mean, The Witcher 1 to this day is pretty broken. That's a game that really needs a remake. And I don't think that's even controversial to say. Like, it's got quality world building and stuff and laid the foundation, but anybody who's going to tell me with a straight face that it's like, it's playable to modern audiences, I'm going to laugh at.
Levioso.
Levioso. A levitation charm?
Levioso!
Like many, I've been waiting for a truly excellent Harry Potter game since I was in the 3rd grade. There have been some decent attempts, but none that come close to truly
Needed Hagrid so dirty in that one. So dirty. What do you think he said? The actor said when he saw that. He's like, is that what I really look like? Oh, God.
Fulfilling the fantasy of receiving your own Hogwarts admission letter. With Hogwarts Legacy, I'm happy to say that magic has finally been captured. Its open-world map absolutely nails the vibe of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. It has spellcasting combat that's stupefyingly good, the characters that inhabit it are charming and unforgettable, and it is positively brimming with countless diversions to soak up dozens of hours of your time. It may not be the most impressive technical achievement, and it is certainly cursed with a lack of enemy variety, but none of Hogwarts Legacy's issues can cast a descendo charm on this triumphant visit to the wizarding world. Right in line.
Oh, sorry, Felix. I missed your earlier donation of €2. I'm sorry. What do you think of the later release time for PC? I find it weird. I won't pretend to know why they're doing that. There might be some like technical reason they have to do that. I really don't know. I think it sucks. I think it's stupid. But like, does that mean the game's not worth getting? I don't think so. But it's weird. I agree. I don't understand it. And Disco Cobra, thank you for the $10. That's most definitely what's up. Not really the biggest Harry Potter fan. I have only watched a couple of the movies. This game, however, looks like a next-gen experience. Maybe not as much on PS5, but with a decent PC, I mean, dang. Yeah, no, the PC footage is crazy. I'm actually very, very impressed by that PC footage. I'm surprised they didn't show off more footage from the PC version of the game before launch. I'm guessing Sony gave them a fat bag to only show footage on the PlayStation 5, which is funny because then they go and they complain about Xbox trying to buy studios, but you know, that's setting that aside.
Line with most Harry Potter tales before it, Legacy's plot has more holes than a fishnet stocking, and sorta just expects you to accept that its magical world makes no sense.
This is something like I think you could actually, it would be fun to experiment with this. You can just assert stuff in a review and people do just kind of believe you because they don't have the game yet, so they'll just kind of believe whatever you say. So you can say like, oh yes, and the story of Red Dead Redemption 2 has more plot holes than you could shake a stick at, and people are like, oh, did you hear the story has plot holes? Oh, that's a bummer. Like, I didn't explain the plot holes, you just kind of believed me because I played the game before you. Like, so I don't know if it actually has plot holes, but I'm interested to see. Because Carrick didn't mention that, but Carrick normally doesn't talk about story that much in his reviews either, so who knows.
This mystical action-adventure RPG begins with you transferring to Hogwarts as a 5th year for unexplained reasons, to do everything from attending classes to fighting giant spiders. The fantastic character creator has plenty of options for you to craft your ideal witch or wizard, and as soon as you do, they'll immediately become entangled in a conflict between the wizarding world and an evil goblin. On top of that, because being in a secret society of wizards is apparently not exciting enough, you soon discover that you've got some freaky supercharged magical abilities that allow you to do extra cool stuff that also isn't really explained. If you're like me, you'll roll your eyes while 100 years worth of dead characters lecture you from paintings about the important history and how you have to save the world or whatever. But once that's over with, Legacy mostly redeems itself with a fantastic cast of non-painting characters that help boil things down into a not-too-convoluted good guys versus bad guys conflict that ends up being a largely enjoyable tale.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what more people say about the story, because Carrick doesn't really talk about that stuff normally. So we'll see. I don't think this reviewer is a fan of the IP like us. Well, remember, I mentioned this at the top of the stream. Apparently, this guy went, I don't know if it's this guy reviewing for this subsidiary of IGN, or if it was somebody for like IGN Spain or somebody, but one of the IGN reviewers assigned to the game said that nobody within the company wanted to review this game because they were terrified of the potential consequences, whether they liked it or disliked it. Because if they rated the game highly, then the J.K. Rowling haters would swarm and try to get them canceled and destroy their career for promoting a problematic thing. And then they were worried if they gave it bad scores, then the hype train would just run them over and they would be crushed under the weight of it. So nobody in the company volunteered or wanted to review this game, which I think is pretty telling at the state of the industry, if people are terrified to just review a game because they're worried that their life could be ruined based on what they say about a video game. But, you know, that's beside the point. Was IGN France? Yeah. Well, I mean, France, you got to be careful. I've heard crazy things about France nowadays. Also, Ahmad, thank you for the super chat PS4 performance. They have not shown anything about the PS4. It will not be out on PS4 for another month or two, I think. I think it's April. So nobody knows what it looks like on PS4. Nobody knows. They've not shown it. And hopefully they show it, you know, within the next few weeks. But as of right now, nobody knows.
I am afraid it is too late to study now.
You'll spend most of your time with the classmates who befriend you on campus, accompany you on certain quests, and help you hone your abilities as a magic user. Most are memorable and instantly endearing, like Sebastian, the cocky and morally pliable Slytherin,
good for getting places you're not supposed to be,
or Natsai, the clever and unflappable Gryffindor.
I had it all under control.
Spending time with them and improving my social links through the relationship quest lines made my stay at Hogwarts all the more enjoyable. Unexpectedly, I even found myself looking forward to hanging out with my professors, whether it was my main man, Professor Fig, who serves as both something of a mentor and as a sidekick, or the wisecracking charms teacher, Professor Ronan, who made me love him mostly by making fun of me.
By the looks of it, you all spent your holidays practicing Obliviate on one another.
Each of these characters feels like an indispensable piece of the school, and you could find them wandering the halls doing their thing and choose to spend time with your favorites. It's a huge and important part of the Hogwarts fantasy that Legacy knocks out of the park. Even better, though, is the world itself, which is packed with nearly everything I wanted in a Potter game and more. You'll find yourself wandering Hogwarts' stone-cobbled halls and secret passageways, flying around the Forbidden Forest on a broomstick, and exploring dark caves lit only by the glow of your Lumos spell. The developers at Avalanche have so brilliantly captured the look and feel of the wizarding world that I was amazed at just being there, no matter what trivial errand I was wrapped up in. That immersion could occasionally be broken by Legacy's dicey performance during my time playing on PlayStation 5, though. That includes frame rate inconsistency, weird lighting issues,
but PS5 built different though.
Aggressive pop-in while moving around quickly, and more. There's even this weird thing where every door in Hogwarts has a brief loading screen. It's understandable since there's so much packed into this beast of an adventure, but the PS5's promises of the death of loading screens haven't quite been lived up to here.
Cancel him! How dare! Cancel him! Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I expect more loading screens on PS4. Yeah, I mean, I think the PS4 is probably going to be you get to those doors and then you sit there for probably 20 seconds while the hard drive spins up. Yeah, and the Xbox One, to be completely fair, the Xbox One will be probably worse because the Xbox One is even weaker than the PS4. But
as someone who finds the wand-whipping fights in the movies fairly dull, I was very concerned that...
Okay, many of them are dull, except for the one in, is it Order of the Phoenix, where Dumbledore and Voldemort go at it. The music cuts out, and they're using fire, and then he picks up all the water out of the fountain and stuff. That fight, oh baby. I don't know if there's a better, like, duel in any film from the last, like, 10 years. That I mean, step down Thanos, everything in those movies is just, like, overproduced garbage. That thing is masterful. It's crazy good.
Hogwarts Legacy's spell-slinging combat wouldn't be able to hold my attention across the roughly 32 hours it took me to beat the campaign. But I can admit when I'm wrong. The combat is fantastic, challenging, and utterly captivating. There's a lot more to it than shooting balls of light out of a stick. Instead, the trick is in dodging and countering enemy attacks while pulling off creative combos. For example, you can pull enemies toward you with Accio, light them on fire with the close-range Incendio, then blow them away with the explosive Bombarda spell. Chaining together abilities to make your opponents look like complete fools never stops being amusing, especially as you unlock talent tree perks that enhance your skills with modifiers that make your elemental spells fork to nearby enemies or transform into AoE attacks. Many of the combat encounters are legitimately challenging too. I'll admit I died my fair share of times while trying to show off a new set of spells or by neglecting to see a goblin sneaking up behind me. Improving your skills and figuring out which spells work best for you is a really entertaining process, filled with experimentation and the occasional maiming. There's even a perfect parry mechanic, which begs to be mastered by tryhards like me looking for that extra dopamine hit that comes from a timely block at the last possible second. You'll also be forced to change up your tactics regularly, since many enemies have color-coded shields that can only be broken by spells of a particular type. For example, enemies with a red shield won't be damaged until you hit them with a fire-based spell, which means you'll need to keep a few of those handy.
And my first thought with this was, what about people who are colorblind? How does that work since they're color-coded? There are built-in colorblind settings and visual tweaking stuff, so they took that into account, which is really cool.
While the combat system never stops being entertaining,
I recognize that guy from Shadow of War. I actually was just playing Shadow of War like yesterday or the day before for an upcoming video, and yeah, no, I had the same thought.
creatures you fight do run out of tricks up their sleeves. You'll see the same familiar faces a lot, as you spend an enormous amount of your time fighting dark wizards,
Quite conductive, aren't we?
spiders,
Incendio.
and goblins. Every once in a while, they'll trot out a troll enemy or nondescript magical suit of armor as well, but the enemy's legacy throws at you can wear thin pretty quick.
Maybe this is just the God of War 2018 to whatever the sequel's going to be. And the sequel will come out swinging with crazy variety and all sorts of stuff. That's the hope.
When you're not lighting
Sauron?
spiders on fire, you'll need some lighter activities to spend your time with. And it's actually kind of crazy just how many side tasks Legacy gives you. You could spend hours decorating your very own personal space in the Room of Requirement, go around catching, grooming, and breeding all manner of fantastic beasts, if you know where to find them, practice your gardening or potion making, go shopping in Hogsmeade, become a champion duelist in an underground dueling ring with your classmates, or even go full Voldemort and decide you want to become a master of the dark arts by learning the Killing Curse and other unspeakable acts, which goes about as well as you'd expect if you choose to pursue it.
Naughty, naughty, you'll get caught.
It's not just easy to waste hours goofing off. I found it downright difficult to not get distracted by a dozen things and forget what I'd originally set out to do. One of the ways you can completely forget about the looming goblin threat in the main story is by engaging in the over 100 side quests that are packed into the adventure. Not all of these diversions are equally entertaining. Some are definitely your basic go here and kill or collect this thing errands that do little more than burn some time. But many feature one of the aforementioned awesome characters, asking you to solve their problems or help them get into some good old-fashioned mischief.
Meet me outside the library tonight, and tell no one.
It also helps that you're often appropriately rewarded for your efforts, whether that's earning some gear to upgrade your stats, cosmetic items to improve your swagger, or best of all, new spells. The ultimate carrot in a game where you're often limited only by what magic you know how to cast. For example, one side quest gives you the Alohomora spell, which in classic Metroidvania fashion allows you to literally unlock doors and get into places previously inaccessible to you.
That's badass.
Collecting spells goes a long way to opening up the map and giving you a better bag of tricks during combat. And
it's refreshing to see that this guy's actually, he seems to be good at the combat, which is good. Like, I saw some people like had clipped on Twitter some clips from the gameplay it was like, I think leaked gameplay footage, because it was somebody that was like clearly bad at the combat. They were just spamming the basic attack over and over and over again, not using any special spells to break shields or anything. And they're like, lol, game looks like trash. It's like, yeah, like if you suck at the combat, yeah, it's not gonna seem that robust or complicated because you suck. That's all it is.
And I found myself positively thirsting for as many of these game-changing abilities as I could get my grubby paws on. The gear that you'll find doesn't really allow you to create full-on builds per se, but you'll gain some resistances and buffs to your character and can spend some time upgrading and modifying your best items for minor improvements. None of it is particularly game-changing stuff, but it managed to capture my attention enough for me to spend a good chunk of my time looking at my equipment. Of course, the real loot game is about the cosmetics, a fact that Legacy seems to be keenly aware of since they find ways to hide cool-looking clothes all over the place. These items don't have any gameplay impact, but pimping out my Slytherin legend to outshine all the kids from the lesser houses is more than enough of a motivation. Best of all, you can overwrite the appearance of any gear you've got equipped with the look of anything you've acquired so far, which is just fantastic.
I do love that.
In nearly every way, Hogwarts Legacy is the Harry Potter RPG I've always wanted to play. Its open-world adventure captures all the excitement and wonder of the wizarding world with its memorable new characters, challenging and nuanced combat, and a wonderfully executed Hogwarts student fantasy that kept me glued to my controller for dozens of hours.
What are the odds that Troy Baker is in this game somewhere? Or is he the main villain? This is probably the main villain. I don't know. He's in everything.
It's certainly weighed down by technical issues, an unexciting but inoffensive main story, and slim enemy variety. But even those couldn't come close to breaking the enchanting spell it cast on me. For more, check out our review.
I mean, you got to give it to him. Like the one point that I think everybody kind of misunderstood when we were talking about this game last week, I brought up like Days Gone, you know, because the last example of a studio that went from the minor leagues effectively into the major leagues, going from making like smaller games that were pretty well received but nothing amazing, to working on a massive game in the form of Days Gone. The last example is probably like Days Gone, because Sony Bend had worked on like some smaller Uncharted stuff, helped on development for a couple of things, but they had never done their own like crazy game. And then they come out with Days Gone, and while I think Days Gone is good, it also had major technical problems, because that's usually the first like domino to fall, is technical problems. And so the game itself can be pretty good, but the technical problems rear their ugly head. So it seems like that's a problem here as well, but you know, what are you going to do? Billiam, thank you for the $5. 2 questions. Are there multiple save slots, and is there an inventory limit like Cyberpunk and The Witcher? If anybody knows, let me know. I don't know. If anybody knows. 4 character slots. Okay. 4 character slots. That's pretty good. Google says it's running on Unreal 4, very impressive, but not very mod-friendly unless there's a lot of proprietary file formats used. Possibly. I don't know. I mean, looking at that PC footage, it looks very, very good. It looks very, very good. There is inventory limit, but you can increase that through tasks and missions around the map. Okay. How do I feel about the review so far? Well, Asker, like where I'm at right now, it kind of is in line with what I was expecting. Like a B to B plus open world adventure game. I'm glad to hear that they stuck the landing so well when it came to theming and the world design and everything else. It seems like they really did a good job of making this feel like its own thing while also feeling familiar. And one of the things that's been universal so far that we've seen is that people really like the combat. And that's awesome, because I think that was what a lot of people feared, is that they would get their hands on it and then it would just be like stupid easy. And so it's cool to see this. I love that. They're making Twitch drops. You get skins in game from watching Twitch. Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool. No game is better than flop spoken. Surprised to see such high ratings, actually. Congrats everyone on the game, living up to expectations. And Luke, thanks for the stream and very pleasant to play through. Yeah, well, Victor, I appreciate that. And I got to give it to him. This is why having a skeptical outlook can be so nice, is because if you go into it expecting it to be like okay, but like not great, maybe not even good, just okay, and then you get a game that actually is really seemingly pretty good, you're all the more impressed and hyped about it. And I think that's awesome. Read the pinned comment from IGN. Oh, I closed it. Hold on. Did they pin a comment being like, we're sorry. We're sorry. We're so sorry for liking this thing. What did they say in the pinned comment? Hold on. The elephant in the room is Hogwarts likes great J.K. Rowling's comments. Transgender people have sour taste in the mouths of many and current and former Harry Potter fans, both IGN and the world at large. This has driven some to call for a boycott of the Wizarding World altogether, including Hogwarts Legacy, though Rowling was not directly involved, and there are good reasons, both in-game and out, to believe the developers at Avalanche don't necessarily share her views. Regardless, IGN has always and will continue to champion human rights causes and support people who speak with their wallets in whatever manner they choose. As critics, our job is to answer the question of whether or not we find Hogwarts Legacy to be fun to play and why. Whether it's ethical to play is a separate but still very important question. So just as in virtually all cases, we're choosing to expose and address the views of the franchise creator separately from our consideration of the work of hundreds of game developers and evaluate Hogwarts Legacy as it stands, leaving behind the scenes context to be considered in addition to that evaluation rather than in place of it, so that it can be weighted according to your values. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's baller. It's what I describe as the get out of jail free card for reviewers. Like, not to say that you shouldn't be able to do this. I'm saying, like, this is my approach too. I make gaming videos on YouTube. Why should you give a crap about anything I say other than video game stuff? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So for this, like, if my job is to review a game and talk about the quality of the open world design, the quality of the game itself, that's what I'm going to do. And if you want to ask my question on all of the other stuff, I'm happy to answer it. But my job is to review this thing and tell you what this is. Is this good? Is this bad? It's like, or I was talking to Jacob yesterday. And the way we talked about it, like, if I go to a restaurant and I order a bowl of soup, okay? The waiter comes out with the soup and sets it in front of me. And is like, yes, this is a soup that lots of people really love and enjoy. And they start to sleep. Oh, by the way, the guy that made the recipe for that soup and that gets 10 cents every bowl, he's like a well-known Nazi collaborator. Anyway, enjoy the soup. You're going to be like, what? And then it's like, yeah, no, he's pretty hardcore, a pretty hardcore Adolf fan. And so, it is what it is. But enjoy the soup. You'd be like, okay. But, like, if I'm a soup reviewer, I can evaluate whether the soup is good or not, regardless of the other extenuating circumstances. I can say this soup is one of the best soups I've ever tasted in my freaking life. The guy that made it is a soup Nazi, but the soup is amazing. Do you want to buy the soup? That's up to you. It's an amazing soup. if you buy it, like this other thing happens. I can mention that, but like, does it really matter when we're evaluating the soup? Not really. Like, the soup is either good or bad, independent of those externalities. And so, like, if you want to bring up the ethical question, that's very fair. And if you want to boycott Hogwarts Legacy, more power to you. You're standing up for what you believe in and you're voting with your wallet. That's awesome. I support you in doing that. But I'm a freaking video game reviewer, and so I have to review the games and tell people what the game is like. Maybe the game will suck, and I'll just say, no, whether you support this person or not, whether you like the Soup Nazi or not, the game or the soup sucks. Like, maybe that's what I'm going to come to as a conclusion. But my job is not to lecture you on ethics. My job is to review a stupid video game. And that's it. Like, this is not, like, super serious at the end of the day. Let's see. Hold on. Michael is posting this. Oh, they're pissed. Looks like Kotaku writers confirmed that Warner Brothers chose not to get them an early review copy. I thought Kotaku was boycotting it. Did I just miss that? I thought they said they weren't going to cover it. Okay, but okay. Other journalists are very unhappy about the overwhelmingly positive reviews and the lack of spending a good deal of these reviews talking about J.K. Rowling's harmful views. Finding reviews which pubs are willing to take the Faustian bargain instead of doing right by their readers. Does not deserve to be reviewed on its own merits. Every single critic that couldn't even write a paragraph on dealing with the bigots' disgusting views on the trans community have failed at what they were supposed to do on an intrinsic level and should quit writing. I mean, you're going to start to see people are going to come out and start to try to get people canceled. I'm not being hyperbolic. If you can't engage with the politics laid out by its creator, even if the creator is not involved, you are not a critic. You are simply an advertisement. No, you're critiquing the product. You're just tasting the soup and saying whether the soup is good or bad. The soup won't taste better or worse based on other things. Watching gaming outlets jump through rhetorical hoops to justify coverage on Hogwarts Legacy isn't surprising, but it'd be more honest if they played it straight and just said, our shaky business model doesn't allow for us to ignore any game that might sell 10 million copies. Games like Elden Ring justified salaries last year. If Hogwarts Legacy can provide a fraction of that value, websites that live and die on SEO will have no choice but to engage with it. Morality and ethics did pretty. I'm in no way surprised. Positive response for the Wizarding game. From many outlets who have reviews up today, there's a lack of responsibility in reviews of the game to acknowledge the harm that comes with supporting it. A thread. I don't know. I think with all of this, just at the end of the day, like, customers at this point are just kind of fed up on the left and right side of the political aisle. Everybody's fed up with Puritan approaches to things. Like, don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. Like, I could agree. For all you know, I might agree that buying Hogwarts Legacy is ethically problematic. I could, like, you don't know. But my job is to just talk about the stupid video game. That's what my job is. That's it. It's really not that much more complicated. And no, I don't think that little Susie, who loves Harry Potter because she got into the movies when she was 9. I don't think little Susie is a transphobe for asking her parents to buy her Hogwarts Legacy. And if that's a hot take, then, sue me. I don't give a shit. Let's see what Retro said.
Hogwarts Legacy is finally here. After years of...
By the way, Retro Raconteur, if you have not subscribed to him, Retro right here. Retro, I did a collab with him. I don't know what he's going to be moving on to after Hogwarts Legacy comes out, because he exclusively covers this. He previously did, I think, Animal Crossing, he said, and then he moved on to Hogwarts Legacy. So I don't know what game or topics he's going to cover after this game has been out for a week or two, but you should definitely go sub to him. I know it says the live channel's not subbed. I'm subbed to him on my personal account, but you absolutely should. Here, boom. Live channel, sub to him right now. Do this. Ring the bell. There you go. See how easy that was? Go show Retro some love. Tell him I sent you.
Rumors, hype, and excitement, I spent the past several days exploring the castle, flying high above the grounds, creeping through the Forbidden Forest, and slowly peeling back the layers of a deep storyline which I won't spoil here today. For many fans, this is a game 20 years in the making. From the moment Harry first received his letter inviting him to a world he didn't even know existed, we were all able to imagine what it would be like to get our own acceptance letter to Hogwarts. And while the early games had a certain charm, they were limited by technology of the late 90s and early 2000s, plus they often faced rushed development cycles to coincide with each new film release. Hogwarts Legacy, though, is the culmination of more than 5 years of work, primarily from Avalanche Software, a studio that wanted to aim higher by taking on a passion project far beyond the realm and scope of any game they'd worked on before.
I do think that this is a great example of how much passion can do for a game's development. When the team is extremely passionate about the source material to the point where they're willing to put this many extra hours into it. I mean, it's just, you can see this is a labor of love and they really put their heart and souls into it. I just realized, I guess I've never looked at it that closely. I just realized these are all wands. For some reason, I just was always like, oh, it's kind of like a sunrise. I just didn't look at it that closely. They're all wands, all different wands. There you go. This kind of looks like the one I have. For those of you not aware, I went to Universal Studios, and you know, like if any of you guys have been there, you know, it's basically what happens is you can go into Ollivanders, and what they do is they bring in like maybe 10 to 15 people. I don't remember how much, but it's like 10 to 15 people, and they line you up in the room. So like all along the back side of the room, everybody stands up, and you're all just sitting there. And in the room, I wonder if there's actually a video I could just show you. Ollivanders, Universal Studios Orlando. Yeah, here. So you walk in. This is gonna make me motion sick. But there's this guy who plays like the role of whatever, the shopkeeper, and he of Daniel Ollivand. Yeah, exactly. But he plays the role of the guy selecting the wand for you. And what he does is he goes to everybody in the room one by one, and he kind of looks them over. And then what he normally does is he selects a child to come up, and he will select a wand for them based on their personality. And it's like a little show. So like he picks he's gonna pick like a little kid. Yeah, see, he picked like a little boy. The little boy comes up, he asks him some questions, and then he goes and he tries to pick a wand, the right length. He gives it to the boy and asks him to like do something with it. And so he says like, oh, you got to cast it now, boy. And so he'll try casting it, and then it causes like the lights to flash, and then he tries another one, and all the drawers will swing open and stuff, and wind's blowing in the room. And it's a super cool experience. Yeah, ring the bell. And so you do that, and then they ring the bell, and it makes you feel like a wizard. When I went at like 22 years old or 22 years old, they picked me. There were children in the room. There was like another little boy. There was like a little girl. For some reason, they picked this 22-year-old dude out of the lineup. And he's like, you young man, come up here. And I was like, really? Really? He's like, yep, come on up here. So I got up there. I did the whole show. And he gave me a wand. And I got the wand. I have it upstairs. And it's my wand. I still feel vaguely guilty about it. Because there were children. Like, I was like, I know I look like a man baby sometimes, but like, I really don't know. He had to choose me over all the children. Was it something where like he got some kid said something mean to him, called him like a boomer or something, and so he's like, screw kids, I'm just gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna pick all the adults for the rest of today. Maybe that's what it was, but it was actually like pretty funny. Get the wand. I can go get the wand. I'll go get the wand. I have the interactive one. Yeah, it's the nice one. Here, I'll start this playing. I'll go get the wand and I'll show it to you because it's kind of cool. It looks like a snake head and everything. It's cool. Did I have no beard? No, I did have the beard because it was at we went to Well, when was it? Was it 2019? Because 2018 we went to Hawaii, so I think it was 2019. I don't think I was clean shaven. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. It's been a minute, but I'll go get it. I'll let Retro take over the stream for just a second. I'll be like two seconds.
Could a developer whose last game was Cars 3 all the way in 2017 actually deliver on the lofty expectations of such a rabid fan base? A truly global fan base that spans across lines of age, culture, not to mention hardcore video game players, plus non-gamers who are interested solely because it takes place in the Wizarding World? Well, I've now put about 20 hours into the PS5 Deluxe version thanks to an early copy provided by WB, and here's what I'll say now based on the time I've had with the game so far. Hogwarts Legacy is the best Wizarding World game ever made, and it's really not particularly close. It's truly a love letter to fans of the iconic world of Harry Potter. Everything from the menus to the sound effects and music, the shops and signage, the classes and teachers, they've all been done with such great respect to the original lore. But not only is Hogwarts Legacy the best Wizarding World game ever made, it's also a pretty darn good RPG in its own right. Surprise though, it's not perfect. No game is, of course. There are issues here that I expect may hold it back among some of the more hardcore gamers out there, and we'll talk about those here today as well.
The teacher's gone when the man's away. The chat will play. I ran up one flight of stairs and I'm gassed. I gotta get myself together, man. I'm falling apart. This is it. So it looks like a little skull. Here, I can do this too. Oh. Little skull, snake head. And like I said, he picked this out for me by hand. And I feel very fortunate. So, it's heavy too. I mean, it's meaty. You can't do just like the Voldemort. Like, you actually have to kind of hold it. It's meaty. And this does have the extra little thing. So if you're not familiar, if you go to the Universal Studios Orlando place or LA, because this has the extra special like reader thing on the tip of it, you can actually go up to various points in the park and you can do like the motions, and it will actually like open doors and cause like the water fountain to spray water everywhere. Like, you can actually do some kind of fun stuff with it. It's fun.
Well, but if I can be real with you all for just a moment here, flaws and all, I am loving this game so far. I haven't been bored a single moment playing it. When it comes to video games, it really all comes back to that simple word, fun. Is it fun? I don't know yet if it's game of the year material. I don't know if it's better than this, better than that. All I know is that my 20 hours with Hogwarts Legacy has been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to play more. So we're going to get into the gameplay mechanics. I'm going to leave the story mostly for you to experience on your own. I'll also add that most of the footage you see today is from the first few hours of the game only. I will say this one bit about the story, though. It's engaging right from the start, and there's enough there that I want to keep learning more to unravel the mystery of this ancient magic and our main character's connection to it. It really does feel like you're starting out a brand new adventure in the Wizarding World we all know and love. Now, one of my early fears of this game is that without the iconic professors of the original series, and of course the Golden Trio and all their friends, the experience would somehow feel hollow, and we'd just exist in the world but wouldn't have anyone to really care about. I'm happy to say that is not the case, and there are
Yeah, it does seem like they did a good job of writing it. Let's see. Does anyone know how you get to decide the house at the beginning? I'm assuming it's shown off in the Jack Fragg's gameplay, because he posted like the first 6 hours. So I'm assuming it's shown in there. I don't want the spoilers, so I'm not looking at it, but I would guess so. Is that Voldy's wand? No, I don't think so. There are wands that they sell that are not character specific. I don't know whose wand this is. If anybody knows if this is somebody's wand, a character's wand, you should let me know. But I don't think it's anybody's wand. Unless it's like a minor character that never got like a clear shot of what the wand looked like. But if anybody knows, you should let me know. Also, it's custom. Good. See? This is the Luke wand. This is Luke's. This isn't anybody else's. You see, I was selected at Ollivander's shop. I was chosen. Those kids didn't stand a chance. I was chosen and given. Oh God, what core does it have? I don't think they said. I'm assuming a phoenix sinew. I don't know.
There are already a few characters I'm growing attached to through my playthrough. One piece of advice I'll give
and yes,
those
we will
of
be
you who are about to play the
streaming
game for the
some
first
of the
time,
playthrough. I don't know about the whole thing, but
savor
some of it.
Savor and take your time with the experience. I actually think the game wants you to take your time. You won't have access to broom flight right away. You'll come across quite a few locked rooms in the castle, and chances are you'll even have a puzzle or two you can't solve because you don't know the spell you need. And while I know many want to immediately start exploring the castle, even the grounds of Hogsmeade right away, I will say that if you don't do that, the game still does a pretty good job of encouraging this organically as you simply progress through the early story missions. In fact, some of my early exploring and travels had to actually be repeated because areas that I went to check out on my own and get a glimpse of, the game actually ended up taking me there anyway on a mission. Now, as for the gameplay, how does it actually play and feel? Well, as I said in my early hands-on of the game a few weeks ago, the character controls well, combat is super fun. That remains true in this build as well. I've stuck with the normal difficulty, but I've actually been kind of on the fence about bumping it up to hard. You can change the difficulty at any time, so for the experienced gamers out there who'd like a challenge, I recommend going ahead and bumping it up to hard, trying that out, and then you can always bump it back down if you need to. Now, leading up to this, the vertical slices of gameplay that we had seen before launch look entertaining. I certainly enjoyed the mission that we got to play early, but now having the full game in my hands, I've been very pleasantly surprised at the sheer variety of missions and activities there are to do in this game. We talked in the beginning about just how many types of fans they're having to try and please with this game. And again, it's hard to delve too much into where you'll be going and what you'll be doing with the
Craggrowshire.
fear of me spoiling too much, but rest assured, the main story missions offer a nice variety to keep things fresh. There's also a good balance of puzzles, action, exploration, and then of course there's a Room of Requirement and nurturing magical beasts, which they've already talked about. Guys, I only recently unlocked the Room of Requirement. Still no caring for magical beasts. I know there were some worried that they would lean too heavily in one direction, and while it is true you're going to have to do a little bit of everything to reach the end, so far they've done a really nice job at balancing things here for people of different play styles to where I think everyone can enjoy this game. Oh, and there's something that happens in the story, I don't know, roughly 10 hours or so that really changes things up gameplay-wise in a way that Avalanche has kept almost entirely under wraps throughout the whole marketing process. Trust me, guys, some of these things we haven't seen anything about. There haven't even been rumors or mention of some of the things you're going to see here. As far as the side quests go, yes, your basic fetch and collect quests, they do make an appearance here, but again, there really is a lot of variety here in terms of the things you can do. So just for a small preview, there are going to be 95 Merlin puzzles, of which I've solved like 10 of these so far.
95 Morbin puzzles. That's pretty good. That's a lot.
There's 20 ancient magic hotspots, 18 infamous foes. I haven't experienced a single one of those yet, despite being 20 hours into the game. Actually, I take that back. You know what? I just did my first ancient magic hotspot. So there we go. One of them so far. Of course, that's going to vary.
Yeah, I wonder how difficult the Mervin puzzles will be. Sorry, I stepped on a Lego. I wonder how difficult the Moreland puzzles will be, because they could be difficult, just meant to like you know, the types of puzzles that are just meant to like pad out gameplay time, and they're not difficult, they're just tedious. My hope for the Morden puzzles would be that they can come out and it at least challenges you a little bit, because you know, when I think of Mormon, I think sorry, I stepped on another Lego. When I think of Mormons, I think of like a masterful wizard, because like if you're reading the books, like every time that they mention Morton, it's like like this guy knows what he's doing. So I would hope that the puzzles reflect that, you know, in a way where you also are like, Melvin knows what he's doing. These puzzles are interesting. Stuff like that I think could be really, really fun.
Vary based on your play style, how much exploring you do off the beaten path, especially in the beginning. I know people are going to be exploring a lot. So guys, it takes a lot for me to get emotional when it comes to movies, books, video games. It's not me trying to be macho or something. I just don't do it often. It just doesn't happen. It takes a lot. Like
Retro's a psychopath confirmed.
I said, and yet there was something about an early moment in this game for me. It was actually when I got to the common room for the first time. The way The music swells, and then suddenly I was in control of my character, able to freely pan around the room and walk over to the furniture and take in all the posters and various trinkets of the other students. It was a single room, but in that single room, I could see years of hard work from artists, developers, coders, writers who so carefully crafted this game. Now I'm sure I'm going to discover...
Interesting take, bigot. So people, it's going to be so... Like, this is the thing. I think you can actually, like, do a lot of good with activism and stuff, but I think being an activist by way of hate and shitting on people doesn't achieve the ends. It actually will do more harm, and you'll actually make things way, way worse. Like way, way worse. And I think that, like, you're gonna end up with a lot of these people on Twitter who are just like, oh, they take a clip of like a person having a really heartfelt moment, sharing their like really loving moment. And they're like, oh, and this is just a childhood dream come true. I felt like a child again, and I just wept with joy. Cool story, bigot. Cancel them. It's like, that doesn't... If you actually want to make the world a better place, I don't think that is how you do it. I don't think you overcome bigotry with more hatred and bigotry. I think you overcome it with love and compassion and showing that the world can be a better place. Kind of like, you know, bringing up the Mormon things again. I've had many Mormon neighbors because in Colorado, there's a ton of Mormons. And the thing about Mormonism, if you've ever been exposed to it, or maybe you are Mormon, the thing about Mormons is that they smother you with love in a very good way. Like, they will not convert you by preaching about, you know, hellfire and damnation. They will just be the most kind and loving people to you for years. And eventually you're like, you guys are wonderful. I love you guys. And then you'll start to think maybe they're onto something. And that's how they convert you. And with this stuff, it's the same exact thing. Like, if you actually want to make the world a better place, I think you have to do it with love. I don't think you can do it with hatred and cynicism and vindictive like snarls. I think you've got to do it in a better way.
For more things in the coming days that I love, maybe even more issues or critiques, but make no mistake, Hogwarts Legacy is a game for the fans.
Chase, thank you for the 5. As someone in Utah, that Merlin, no wait, Mormon joke got me good. Good, I'm glad.
And a game made by the fans. And so when it comes to that, the characters in and around Hogwarts, this starts to touch on one of the not so good things I've seen so far in the game, and that is the NPCs. And I don't mean the NPCs like Hogwarts teachers or the ones who give you missions or even many of the named students you'll meet up with along the way. No, I'm talking about the NPCs that are just sort of there to exist with the goal of making the world feel more lived in. And some of the time, to be fair, this works really well. I've particularly enjoyed how some of the students will linger about after classes and you can go and approach, and almost always they'll have a couple of lines of dialogue for you to interact with each one of them. But
try hard. Do you remember in high school all the students that would hang back after class to talk to the teachers? My sister, she had one history teacher that she loved. Like, this guy was just, they were like that. They were very close. They were very, very in tune. She was fascinated by him. He enjoyed talking with her. And she, like, during study hall, the like last hour of the school day from like 2 to 3, she would leave whatever her study hall was and go to his study hall and just talk to him for like an hour about history and stuff. And I never said at the time, but I was like, you're such a brown noser. You know what you're doing. Like, yeah, I'm sure you find history interesting and you like to learn about the people that came before so that you don't repeat their mistakes again. But come on. Trying a little hard. Thank you, Danilo. Thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Did that with my English teacher, to her credit. It sparked a passion for writing I've never had. For me, it was, we had one teacher who was the like supervisor for the chess club, Mr. Luce. And, you know, he's a great guy. We had a great time with him. He took us to chess tournaments and hosted the chess club and everything. And in his study hall, he was just like, he would zone out. He would just go to a different realm. And he would just sit at his computer facing away from us, like in the corner of the room. And then we would have his big table, you know, and he was a math teacher, so he was usually grading papers and doing things, or tests and things. And so we would just hang out in there. And normally we would play chess. But I remember one time we played, what We called it Egyptian rat slap. I don't know if there's another name for the game, but it's where like you flip around cards on a deck and you flip the cards, and if it's like 2 of the same card, then you slap it, and whoever slaps it first gets the stack, and your goal is to get the whole stack of cards. And then you can have like sandwiches where it's like a 2 and then like a jack and then a 2, or a 2 and a queen and a 2, and then you slap it because that's a sandwich. So we played that. It's really, really fun. But yeah, I don't know what the official name is. We called it Egyptian rat slap. That's what everybody in the school called it. But one day we were playing it, and it got very, very heated, and everybody was like very loudly doing this. We kind of forgot it was study hall and supposed to be quiet. And more importantly, we forgot that the back wall was shared with the principal's office. Big oops. Big oops. And so the principal came in, looked at all of us in the room. He opens the door. It goes from very, very loud to dead silent, and he just looks around and then points. You, and you. Come with me. We all got up. We followed him. He went to his office, and he wrote up pink slips for every single one of us, handed them off. And, we didn't really get in trouble. It was more that poor Mr. Luce got torn a new one, because he's like, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be keeping a classroom like orderly. What is going on? It was hardcore. So from then on, Mr. Luce was much less chill, because I think he read the riot act after that. But yeah, we got in trouble. That's the first time I ever got in trouble in high school. And the only time. I won student of the quarter in high school. I did 2 colloquium. I did 2 colloquia where I went in front of the school and I give like lectures on something I was researching personally. Like at one point I played 3 games of chess on the stage of the school against teachers at the same time while blindfolded. Like I was the tryhard in a lot of ways. So I will say I'll dish it out, but I deserve to take it a good amount as well.
As for a lot of the so-called random NPCs, I guess, for lack of a better way of describing them, there's a lot to be desired. Now, I'm not saying I was expecting full-on conversations with every person you meet, but there are a lot of times you'll find NPCs just stationary, staring off into the distance, and they won't really interact with you or anything you try to do. Even if they had just like a single line or 2 of dialogue that happens if you maybe linger for too long, I think that would go a long way toward making it feel a little bit less awkward. And if you're just kind of running through and only interacting with the things that you clearly see you can interact with, it's not a big deal. But sometimes you'll pass by a group of students and they're having a nice conversation, and then other times you'll pass by and there's just someone doing this. Now, even though this is probably my biggest...
He's tripping balls. Dude looks high as a kite. I've seen this look on a lot of people's faces. I live in Colorado. This is a common thing. You see this a lot. This guy is flying. He's on another planet. Oh, man. Yeah, I want to be on that potion. Can I have what he's having? Good God almighty. It's like my brother Jacob, who edits, our videos and does really good work. I went to a dispensary with him like 6 months ago or whenever it was. And he walked in, and normally people walk in and they're like, yeah, I was looking for like an edible, just something, nice to help me relax. Or like, oh, I like to smoke. Do you have something that's maybe, not too crazy, maybe like strong, but not bitter, like whatever they say. He walks in, goes right up to the bud tender behind the counter and says, I want to see the devil. What do you have that'll do that? And that's exactly like whatever gummies they gave him were like stars of death. Like these things will like cause you to melt. Okay. Like your skin will look like a wet newspaper because you're just melting. You're so vegged out. That's what this guy popped. This guy popped some like stars of death or something.
Biggest issue so far. It really hasn't detracted from the overall game for me, at least not yet. It's still definitely there, and something I'll notice occasionally as I'm exploring the castle or even in a place like Hogsmeade. As far as the castle itself, guys, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. I don't know what more I can say. We kind of felt this was going to be the case from everything they'd showed so far, and they wanted to do the castle right, and I think they've done just a phenomenal job with it. Again, I'm still not finished exploring everything. I haven't collected everything. I haven't found everything. Now, one thing I would encourage you to do early on when it comes to exploring, I would turn off the mini-map. You can customize it. Hogwarts Legacy includes...
Okay, this is what I was wondering. Show quest notifications, show minimap. You can turn that off individually.
A wealth of options for customizing.
Do they give
the HUD,
you
such
option
as
for a
turning off
compass?
the damage numbers, and of course the mini-map. Now, most of the options are available in this menu here, but you should also look through the accessibility menu options as well, because there may be a setting there you'd like to
I like
tweak
that
too.
though.
So why turn off the mini-map? Personally, I just found it way more immersive. You don't have all those little icons popping up. You can actually turn off a lot of those as well on the main screen. But what I found that I like to do is I'll pull up the big map or quest log and then mark my next quest. And then by pressing up on the D-pad, this is going to give you a little...
Up on the digital pad, yes.
golden trail that kind of exists like in the world, and you can follow this instead of having to kind of look down at your map, go back and forth, and follow those weird yellow dots to all the little points of interest. One thing I would love to see them add is sort of a dynamic HUD option for many of these elements, specifically for your health and spells. Essentially, a dynamic option would let you freely explore the world with no HUD whatsoever. As soon as you pull out your wand to start fighting, the spells and health would auto appear and then auto hide once again when the battle is finished. Now, as far as performance goes, all the footage you've seen so far is running again on a PS5 in performance mode, and you're going to have 3 modes to choose from: fidelity, fidelity with ray tracing, and of course the performance mode. You can also choose to cap or uncap the frame rate. Now, if you have a high refresh rate display that supports VRR, you'll also have the added options of a balanced mode as well as a high refresh rate mode. Now, the build I would also use to
I will say this is really random.
Auto hide once again.
I'm so sorry. This whole thing, you know what this reminded me of? This is so freaking obscure. I will be shocked if anybody knows this. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, here it is. Does anybody know Jeremy Bentham? Has anybody heard of Jeremy Bentham? He was like a philosopher. Has anybody heard of this? Let me know in chat. Jeremy Bentham? This is like so weird and random, I swear. I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. Because this is what you get when you come to a Luke Stevens stream. You do? Yeah. The mummified incel? Yeah. So, like, we're looking at this thing, which has, like, oh crap, where did the tab go? Like, for some reason, this made me think of it. I was like, oh, we're in a school. And then there's, like, this enclosure, and then they have, like, a dead creature inside. And that made me think, oh, what else do they have in Hogwarts? And I was like, oh, well, there are some schools that have cases like this with dead things and people in them. Jeremy Bentham was like I guess you'd call him a philosopher. But he decided to donate what he called his auto icon, which is just a fancy word for his body, to like this school. And they kept it inside this case. I'm pretty sure this is a school. It might be a museum nowadays. I think it was moved, but it was kept in this glass case. Now, that's not actually him. That's not him mummified or anything, okay? Like, this is a wax head. This isn't him. This is a wax head. And then it's like his skeleton, but the clothes are stuffed with straw and stuff in this enclosure. You see, like, there's students sitting over here. Like, they're just hanging out. There's just a dead dude in here. This is a dead dude's body, okay? But you notice, like, it's a wax head. Well, that's because they tried to preserve his head, but the guy that tried to do it after he died did such a terrible job that he just, like, totally destroyed it. And if you're weirded out by, like, mummies and stuff, don't look at the screen for the next minute or two. But they tried to turn his head into, like, just a preserved head, but they screwed it up, and they put, like, glass eyeballs in his head. This is his original hair and everything, but they screwed it up so bad that, like, he just ended up getting, like, melted, and it's horrible. Jeremy Bentham was such a weird dude. Towards the end of his life, he started carrying around the glass eyeballs that would replace his when they did this to his body. He started carrying them around in his pockets because he wanted them on his person whenever he died. And so, like, they just have this body preserved. I don't think this is him, but they just have this body preserved. And for a while, they kept his actual head down next to him, but students started to steal it as part of, like, a fraternity prank. They would steal Bentham's head and then hide it in their fraternity house and stuff. It's insane. So I'm sorry, that's very, very random. But when I saw this enclosure, I was like, I wonder if Hogwarts has any like weird old professors' bodies just posted up in display cases or anything. So yeah. Anyway, new meaning to giving head. Jesus Christ, Nathan. Man, I was having a pretty nice dinner until this moment. Yeah, sorry. I like, this is what you get on a Luke Stevens stream. Random little factoids and pieces of information that nobody needs to know. I will tell you, I'm a mean player when it comes to trivia because I know a bunch of really random, weird stuff. How is that information useful that I just gave you? I don't know, but I have that info in my brain. I don't know why, but I do. So take it or leave it. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you.
Finished. Now, as far as performance goes, all the footage you've seen so far is running again on a PS5 in performance mode, and you're going to have 3 modes to choose from: fidelity, fidelity with ray tracing, and of course the performance mode. You can also,
you know what, as long as you do a better job of preserving my head than those guys did of preserving his head, then I think we're good.
Choose to cap or uncap the frame rate. Now, if you have a high refresh rate display that supports VRR, you'll also have the added options of a balanced
yeah, new people coming to the stream, they're like, what the hell is Luke doing? I thought he was looking at Hogwarts Legacy reviews. He's just looking at some dead dude's head that was melted and boiled. Like, what the hell?
Mode, as well as a high refresh rate mode. Now, the build I was playing on did not include the day 1 patch, which I've been told will add the fidelity ray tracing mode, so that's why you won't see it shown here. Hopefully we get a full breakdown on this game from a site like Digital.
That's important to note. So all of the PS5 footage we've seen so far with the pop-in and stuff, and the PC stuff with the pop-in and the weird glitches, all of this is apparently before the day 1 patch, which is going to be like 30 gigs. So a lot of this stuff may be improved. It might be.
Digital Foundry, because I'm really curious to see how all these modes perform in terms of the actual numbers and not just me looking at it from an actual visual standpoint as I've done here. For me personally, I found the performance mode with an uncapped frame rate to be my preference. My TV supports VRR, I've had that turned on, but I have to say I've also been tempted a little bit by that balance mode for that slight increase in visual fidelity. My guess is that this is probably like Ratchet and Clank did, where there's like this 40 FPS mode, but with VRR it looks a lot better than 30. Now, I did try and bumping it up to that high refresh rate a little bit, and I just found that the details suffered too much with that one, so I went ahead and took it back down performance and then uncapped the frame rate, and I've been happy with that so far. All right, the big one I know a lot of people want to know about: glitches and bugs. Now, to be truthful, I have noticed a number of them during my 20 hours with the game. It's an open world game, they're bound to be there, you're gonna find them. Most of mine have been visual, such as robes or like hair clipping through areas that they shouldn't, inconsistent or flickering lighting, and then probably, I guess, the most severe bug I've encountered has been this weird sort of camera shake that I think is triggered by something that's happening near a specific Merlin puzzle that I was trying to solve. So I've actually returned to this puzzle a few times because I haven't been able to solve it yet. I think I need a different spell, and I think it's happened to me twice now. Definitely more than one occasion where
it looks like the thing, like the camera effect that happens when like a troll stomps and it causes the screen to shake, like the ground is shaking, but for some reason it's shaking repeatedly, just over and over again. Hopefully that's patched. But this is why I like Retro. Like, he's certainly a fanboy of Hogwarts Legacy stuff. He's covered the game a lot, but he'll still call this out. Like, a lot of other creators would run into this and just wouldn't mention it because they're like, they'll probably fix it. They'll probably fix it. I don't want to hype on, like, I don't want to like step on anybody's toes. I don't want to bring anybody down, but he'll mention it, and I very much appreciate that.
Where the camera just kind of starts shaking. Fortunately, none of it has been game breaking, and with the camera shake, I was able to correct that by just kind of leaving the area and then coming back, and it was back to normal.
That's a
the
cool
visuals
map.
in this game are really interesting. I have seen some people on the previous footage I've shared that say it looks absolutely stunning. Some people say that it looks dated, and I can honestly see where both sides are coming from. There are times, especially outside, when you're flying around, when you're looking at all the scenery, I mean, this game looks downright stunning. In the common rooms, in the castle, the furniture, all the details here. I mean, the artists should really be commended for an absolutely outstanding job they've done to bring the Wizarding World to life. The castle architecture, common rooms, spell effects, and many of the outdoor environments just look truly spectacular. But then at other times, there are things that look dated, or you expect to see a certain effect, such as water dripping from a wet cloak, and you don't. Again,
I think what a lot of that is, though, is I think that's PS5 limitations, because we saw that footage on the PC, and good God almighty, it looked good. It looked really, really good. Merlin, when you mispronounced the name. Yeah, a lot of viewers today. Yeah, Velocity. I mean, I'm very, very happy to have everybody here. Again, if we get 58 more likes, we'll be at over 1,000 likes, which I think is going to be a first for a live stream. So if we have 58 of you out there who have not liked the stream yet, do that, and I will shotgun the rest of this Red Bull. I don't know how to get you to do it. Do it or don't. I can't control you. I don't even know if you will do it, but I would appreciate it if you did.
And keep in mind, I've been playing on the performance mode, so there are some sacrifices to the visual fidelity there. And then one of the most consistent criticisms of the game's visuals has been the
motion Jesus Christ, look at that. Okay, well, promise is promise.
Capture for the facial animations. Unfortunately, that is still present, but it's really inconsistent. There are times when I think it looks solid. It's like, oh, okay, that looks...
Somebody's going to clip that. Of me holding the can upside down. Oops.
It's good. That's how it's supposed to look.
I believe the ability you possess obliges you to be well trained.
And then other times it just looks a little bit off still.
Samantha Dale, I've been eager to meet you. You're the student everyone's been whispering about.
Now, as a fan who's followed pretty much every news drop about this game, I can't help but wonder how much of this is a result of the unique development environment Avalanche had to work in when it was time to do a lot of this motion capture. They participated in an Autodesk presentation where they discussed the challenges of remote work and how many of their plans just had to completely change due to not being able to record and capture many of these actors in person. They had to...
That is fascinating. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, totally. This game's motion capture stuff came out right in the middle of a lot of lockdowns. So yeah, they were busy trying to juggle all of this. Like, how do you do motion capture remote? How does that work? That's tough. Huh.
Come up with all sorts of creative workarounds to get it to work. The door loading issue that I mentioned in my preview is
Avalanche Software. So it's a different Avalanche than made like Mad Max and Just Cause and stuff. It's a totally different company. Very common misconception, but it's different. The last game that these guys made was Cars 3 Driven to Win. And before that, they worked on like Disney Infinity and stuff like that. So it's not the Mad Max Avalanche. If it were, that'd be pretty cool, but it's a different company. But it seems like they actually lived up to the hype, and it seems like they actually have done a really good job. So it looks like now they've been blown into the stratosphere, and now people are going to be talking about them very, very positively, which is awesome. Thank you, Kappa Claus, for the $1. Appreciate you. Thank you. So now we can take them seriously. Yeah, well, and like with all of this, it's just so frustrating because we've talked about like healthy skepticism, and like people started like commenting on stuff when a review leaked last night that was generally very positive. People were commenting and being like, "Lol, so much for being skeptical." I was like, that again tells me you don't understand what skepticism is. All skepticism is waiting to believe something until there's evidence adequate to believe that position. Like that's all it is. So I'm just being skeptical of believing that this game is worth your $70. Now the reviews are coming out and are very positive. So now I would say the evidence that this is worth your money is overwhelming, and it would be unreasonable to think that this game is actually secretly bad and everybody's lying about it, right? So I think at this point, the evidence points pretty clearly in a positive way. Like, you can still be skeptical and end up with a positive conclusion. If you think that skeptical just means that you're being negative and that you don't want to like something, you just don't understand what skepticism is. Like that, you think it means cynicism. And it's extremely common because people, for whatever reason in our culture, look down on skepticism. They want you to just like go along with the tribe and agree with everybody because that's easier to manage. They don't want people trying to think critically or independently. So there's that conflation that happens all the time where people swap it out. Let's see. Important, there is an exclusive reward if you watch Avalanche's stream tomorrow. So it's best to tune in. Interesting. Weird. Avalanche's stream tomorrow. Maybe we'll stream it. That's interesting. Let's see. To be fair, Open Critics rating is really high. Yeah, I think that's what we were saying, right? But your skepticism hurts my feelings, Luke. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's people were like joking about it. They're like, in all of these skeptical look videos, you've been explaining what the term skepticism means like a lot. I'm like, yeah, I was doing that because even after I do that, there's still a handful of dumbasses who come back and conflate it even still. And it's just because they don't really listen. I think that's most of it. But secondly, like, it's just the idea of skepticism, healthy skepticism, is not one that's really prevalent in at least American culture. It's not really a thing. Please do members only streams. Yes, we do need to do that. We've been a little swarmed trying to get stuff tackled, but yeah, we're going to be doing members only streams a lot more frequently. We did one in January. I wanted to do 2 in January. We're going to do 2 in February. So for those of you who are not members yet, it's the little join button that you'll see below, and that lets you become a member. You get access to all of the emotes, you get the badge next to your name in chat, so you get access to that, and you also will get invited to those members only streams where only members get to attend. As for when, I think we had a huge turnout when I did that surprise stream on Thursday, so I think what we'll do is we'll do one this month on like a Tuesday evening, and then we're going to do another one like a Thursday, but around this time, to try to, catch both people that might be able to pop into a members only stream. So we'll do that. How do I join? Just the join button underneath. There should be a join button for you, and then you hit that. Or I think, is it in the description box as well? No. It is not. Hold on. Let me hit play. I'll link you the join button here in just a second.
Still present.
And yes, we will be streaming this tomorrow, I think.
It's more just the game having to load the next area. On the bright side, it does not happen often, and when it does, I found the loading to be pretty snappy. And then one that, frankly, I'm not sure if it's a bug or not. It relates to the game's music. There are times when I'm exploring the castle both night and day with music playing. Music itself, fantastic, by the way. But then there are other times when it's totally silent. No music playing whatsoever. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is intended or not. Sometimes it feels almost a little too quiet when I'm exploring, but then another part of me is like, well, that kind of gives you an opportunity to hear all the sound effects, the little sounds like footsteps and the spell effects in the game.
Thank you, Harry, for the 5.
That lockpicking minigame that I think pretty much everyone was critical of in the first preview. Now, I don't know if they tweaked something before this build that we played, or if it's just me playing the game more and getting better now, but I have to say it felt much better. I'm knocking these out, no problem whatsoever. 10-15 seconds tops with every single one of them. So it could very well be that we judged that one a little bit too harshly in our first impressions, or maybe they did tweak something under the hood and make it a little bit more user-friendly now. So when it comes to those who are interested in buying Hogwarts Legacy, I see
Kappa, thank you for the 2. Appreciate you.
3 different categories. First, we have those who love games and the Wizarding World. Then we have those who just primarily love the Wizarding World. And then we have those who mainly love video games and just may be interested because...
I pre-ordered on Amazon. I can't play Skyrim anymore. I need this game now. I need it. You're close. Very close. I pre-ordered on Amazon. Do you guys think they're sending the code tomorrow for the early access, or did I get screwed? I think Amazon probably, I would think that they would send it, but I've had issues with Amazon in the last year. I don't know where you live, but in Colorado, at least, it's been a problem. They've been, like, you'll get something with 2-day shipping, and they'll ship it off, like, they'll show up 3 days late. It's like, why am I paying for Prime? Like, what are we doing? Anyway, thank you, Sanjita, for becoming a member.
Because of something they've seen in a trailer about this game. So for that latter group there, it really all comes down to how you feel about the issues I've mentioned. Now, I fully admit, guys, being such a long-time fan of this series, it's hard for me to look at the game from that objective point of view. I simply cannot separate it from the world that's meant so much to me for so long. And for those people like me that are fans of the Wizarding World, Hogwarts Legacy is an absolute must-play. It's a beautiful example of what happens when you take a chance on an experienced and passionate development studio with true fans of the source material who maybe just haven't had that chance yet to try something new, something bold. While they may not be a Rockstar or From Software, at least not yet, they put their stamp on the industry in a way that fans of the Wizarding World won't soon forget. In fact, I would say with Hogwarts Legacy, WB and Avalanche have set off a new phase of Wizarding World fandom. They have laid the foundation for future Wizarding World video games, and one that can be built upon for years to come. Enjoy your journey and first playthrough of Hogwarts Legacy, and as always...
For real, I do think that this is it's gonna jumpstart another wave. I mean, Harry Potter is still ridiculously huge. For a franchise that hasn't had like a major entry that's been like explosively popular in a decade plus, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I'm excited to see Mr. Maddie's review because he doesn't follow Harry Potter stuff. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Like I said, I think for most people, they'll probably land on, like, people who are not fans of Harry Potter are probably at like an 8 out of 10. But people who are fans of Harry Potter and really like this stuff are going to give it like a 10 out of 10. Like, it's going to be their dream game. Because it'll be the 8 out of 10 plus the extra 2 points for the setting. So that's what I think, at least.